When Paul Walker notices a homeless mother with her baby living in a beat-up sedan outside a grocery store, what he does next doesn't just change their lives forever. It reveals the true heart of a man the world thought they knew. And the lesson he teaches will leave you questioning everything you believe about kindness. Before we continue this story, let us know where you're watching from if you enjoy stories like this. Subscribe to the channel because tomorrow we have another special story for you. The California sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows across the parking lot of a small grocery store in Glendale. Paul Walker had just finished a long day of filming, his body aching from hours of stunt work and takes that seemed to go on forever. All he wanted was to grab some groceries and head home to his daughter Meadow, maybe catch a movie together like they did every Friday night. Paul parked his modest pickup truck, not the flashy sports car people expected him to drive, and stepped out, stretching his tired muscles. He wore a simple gray t-shirt, faded jeans, and worn sneakers. Nothing about his appearance screamed movie star. To anyone passing by, he looked like just another tired guy ending his workday. As he walked toward the store entrance, something caught his eye. In the far corner of the parking lot, partially hidden behind a dumpster, sat an old, burgundy sedan. The windows were slightly fogged, and he could make out the silhouette of someone inside. At first, he thought nothing of it. Maybe someone waiting for a friend or making a phone call. But as Paul got closer to the store, he heard it. The soft, muffled sound of a baby crying. He stopped, his hand on the store's glass door, and looked back toward the sedan. The crying continued, tired and weak, the kind that spoke of hunger and discomfort. Paul's heart clenched. He had heard that same cry from Meadow when she was little, and every parental instinct in his body suddenly activated. Instead of entering the store, Paul walked slowly toward the car. As he approached, he could see more clearly through the windshield. A young woman, probably in her early 20s, sat in the driver's seat holding a baby who couldn't have been more than 6 months old. The back seat was packed with belongings, clothes, blankets, a few toys, everything cramped into the small space. The woman noticed him approaching and her eyes went wide with fear. She quickly tried to duck down, pulling a thin blanket over herself and the baby, but it was too late. Paul had already seen everything. He stood there for a moment, unsure of what to do. He didn't want to frighten her, but he couldn't just walk away either. The baby's cries were getting louder, more desperate. Paul knocked gently on the passenger window, his voice soft and non-threatening. "Excuse me, miss. Are you okay?" The woman remained hidden under the blanket for several seconds before slowly emerging. She was pale, thin, with dark circles under her eyes that spoke of countless sleepless nights. Her clothes were clean but worn, and when she cracked the window just an inch, Paul could smell the cramped staleness of someone who had been living in a confined space for too long. "We're fine," she said quickly, her voice shaking. "We're just waiting for someone." Paul nodded gently, not pushing. "I'm Paul. What's your name?" She hesitated. "Maria. And this little one?" He gestured toward the baby, who had calmed slightly at the sound of voices. "This is Sophia," Maria said, unconsciously holding her daughter a little tighter. Paul smiled genuinely. "She's beautiful. How old?" 5 months, Maria whispered, and Paul could hear the exhaustion in those 2 words. Before Paul could say anything else, a sharp voice cut through the evening air. "Hey, you can't be here!" They both turned to see a man in a security guard uniform striding toward them, his chest puffed out with authority. His name tag read, Derek, and everything about his posture screamed that he was someone who enjoyed the small amount of power his job gave him. "This is private property," Derek announced loudly, clearly wanting to be heard by other customers. "We don't allow loitering or panhandling. You need to move along." Maria's face went white. "Please, we're not bothering anyone. We'll leave in just a few minutes." Derek crossed his arms. "You'll leave now, and I better not see you back here tomorrow, or I'm calling the police." Paul felt something hot rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. Is there a problem here? Derek looked Paul up and down dismissively. No problem, as long as you're not with them. He gestured toward Maria and Sophia with obvious disdain. These people think they can just set up camp wherever they want. Bad for business. These people? Paul repeated quietly, his blue eyes steady on Derek's face. Derek didn't catch the warning in Paul's tone. Yeah, you know the type. Probably on drugs, definitely looking for a handout. The store doesn't want them here scaring away real customers. Paul looked at Maria, who was trying to make herself invisible, then back at Derek. What makes you think she's on drugs? Derek scoffed. Look at her, living in a car with a baby. What kind of responsible person does that? Maybe someone who's hit a rough patch? Paul said evenly. Maybe someone who's doing the best she can with what she has? Derek laughed harshly. Right. You're probably new around here. Trust me, I deal with these types all the time. Give them an inch, they take a mile. Next thing you know, the whole parking lot is full of them. Paul stepped closer to Derek, his voice dropping lower. And what exactly would be wrong with that? Derek blinked, clearly not expecting the question. What do you mean? I mean, what would be wrong with people who need help finding a safe place to sleep? Derek's confidence wavered slightly. Well, it's bad for business. Customers don't want to see that. See what? Human beings? The parking lot had gotten quieter. A few other customers had stopped to watch the exchange, sensing the tension building between the two men. Derek straightened up, trying to reassert his authority. Look, I don't know who you think you are, but I'm security here. These people need to go, and that's final. Paul nodded slowly, then turned to Maria. How long have you been living in your car? Maria looked terrified, caught between the two men. We lost our apartment last month. I'm working, but it's not enough for a deposit on a new place yet. Where do you work? Paul asked gently. I clean houses during the day. Sophia comes with me. Most of my clients don't mind. Derek rolled his eyes. Sob story, I've heard it all before. Paul ignored him. And where do you usually sleep? Different places, Maria said quietly. Walmart parking lots sometimes, rest stops. Here seemed safe and quiet. Derek threw his hands up. This is ridiculous. I'm calling my supervisor. Go ahead, Paul said calmly. But first, let me ask you something, Derek. Do you have kids? Derek paused, his phone halfway to his ear. What's that got to do with anything? Just answer the question. Do you have children? Yeah, I got a daughter. She's 3. Paul nodded. So you know what it's like to hold your child when they're crying, when they're hungry, when they're scared. Derek's expression shifted slightly. Of course. And you know you'd do anything to protect her, to keep her safe. Yeah, but... So when you look at Maria here, Paul continued, his voice gentle but firm, what you're seeing is a mother doing exactly what you do, protecting her child the only way she knows how. Derek glanced at Maria, then back at Paul. Some of the aggression had left his posture. Paul continued, she's not asking for money. She's not bothering customers. She's just trying to give her baby a safe place to sleep tonight. And you want to send them out onto the street? Because it might hurt business. I'm just doing my job, Derek muttered, but his voice had lost its earlier conviction. I understand, Paul said. We all have jobs to do, but sometimes we have to decide what kind of person we want to be when we do those jobs. Derek stood there for a moment, clearly struggling with himself. Finally, he looked at Maria. Look, maybe you can stay tonight, but just tonight. Maria's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Thank you so much. Derek nodded awkwardly and started to walk away, but Paul called after him. Derek? The security guard turned back. That was the right thing to do. Derek gave a small nod and continued walking, leaving Paul and Maria alone by the car. Thank you, Maria whispered. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been here. Paul knelt down to be at eye level with her through the car window. What you're doing, taking care of Sophia, making sure she's safe, That takes incredible strength. Don't let anyone make you feel ashamed of that. Maria wiped her eyes. It's just so hard. I never thought I'd be in this situation. Life has a way of surprising us, Paul said softly. But you're still fighting, still taking care of your daughter. That makes you a hero in my book. Sophia had fallen asleep in her mother's arms, finally peaceful. Paul smiled at the sight. Listen, he said. I know you don't know me, but I'd like to help. Would you let me buy you and Sophia some food? Maria shook her head quickly. You've already done enough. I can't accept charity. It's not charity, Paul said. It's just one parent helping another. After a long moment, Maria nodded. Just some formula for Sophia, if that's okay, and maybe some crackers or something. Paul stood up. I'll be right back. Inside the store, Paul filled a cart with much more than Maria had asked for. Baby formula, diapers, jars of baby food, crackers, sandwich supplies, fruit, bottled water, and a few other essentials. At the checkout, the cashier recognized him and started to say something, but Paul gave her a look that asked for discretion. She simply smiled and rang up his purchases without comment. When Paul returned to the parking lot, he found Maria changing Sophia's diaper in the back seat of the car. The baby was awake now, looking around with bright, curious eyes. She's gorgeous, Paul said, setting the bags down by the car. Maria looked at all the groceries and gasped. This is too much. I can't. Maria, Paul interrupted gently. Sometimes we all need help. There's no shame in that. And sometimes helping someone else is exactly what we need too. He pulled out his wallet and handed her some cash. This is for gas, and maybe a night or two in a motel so Sophia can have a proper bath. Maria stared at the money, tears streaming down her face. Why are you doing this? You don't even know us. Paul was quiet for a moment, thinking of his own daughter, thinking of all the times life had blessed him with opportunities to help others. Because everyone deserves kindness, because Sophia deserves a chance, and because you're already doing everything right. You just need a little boost. As Maria tried to find words to thank him, Paul noticed Derek approaching again. But this time, the security guard's posture was different. Less aggressive, more thoughtful. Excuse me, Derek said quietly to Paul. I just wanted to say what you said back there about being the kind of person we want to be. That hit me pretty hard. Paul nodded. We all have moments where we can choose compassion or indifference. The choice we make says everything about who we are. Derek looked at Maria. Miss, I'm sorry about earlier. You and your baby can stay as long as you need tonight. I'll make sure no one bothers you. Maria could barely speak through her tears. Thank you. Both of you. Derek walked away, and Paul prepared to leave as well. But Maria called after him. Wait, I don't even know your last name. How can I ever repay you? Paul smiled. Just take good care of Sophia. And someday when you're back on your feet, maybe help someone else who needs it. As Paul walked back to his truck, he could hear Maria talking softly to Sophia, her voice full of hope for the first time in months. He didn't need her to know he was Paul Walker, the actor. He didn't need recognition or gratitude beyond what she'd already given. What he needed was to know that somewhere in the world, a mother and child would sleep safely tonight because someone chose kindness over indifference. The next morning, Paul couldn't stop thinking about Maria and Sophia. He called a friend who worked with local housing charities and quietly arranged for Maria to be connected with resources for temporary housing and job training programs. He never told Maria it was him who made those calls. 6 months later, Paul was walking through the same grocery store when someone called his name. He turned to see Maria, now wearing scrubs and looking healthy and confident. Beside her, in a stroller, sat Sophia, bigger now, laughing and reaching for everything around her. Paul, Maria said, her face lighting up. I can't believe it's you. Maria, you look amazing. And Sophia has gotten so big. We're doing really well, Maria said proudly. I got into a nursing program and we have our own apartment now. It's small, but it's ours." Paul felt his heart swell with genuine happiness. "That's incredible. You did that, all of it." "No," Maria said firmly. "It started with your kindness that night. You didn't just give us food and money. You gave us hope. You reminded me that good people still exist." Paul shook his head. "You already had everything you needed inside you. You just needed someone to remind you." As they parted ways, Maria called after him one more time. "Paul, I never did find out your last name." Paul grinned and called back, "It doesn't matter. Just keep being the amazing mother you are." Later that day, Paul was on set when his co-star approached him. "Hey, I saw the craziest thing on social media yesterday. Someone posted a video of you helping a homeless woman and her baby. It's going viral." Paul frowned. He hadn't seen any cameras that night. His co-star showed him the video on his phone. It was security footage from the store, showing the entire encounter with Derek and Maria. Someone had posted it with the caption, "This is why Paul Walker was loved by everyone who knew him." Paul watched the video quietly, then handed the phone back. "People do kind things every day. They just don't always get filmed doing it." "Yeah, but this is you, man. You could have just walked away." Paul thought about that for a moment. We all have moments where we can choose to see someone else's humanity or ignore it. What we choose says everything about who we are. His co-star nodded thoughtfully. "That's deep, man." Paul smiled. "It's also simple. We're all just people trying to make it through life. Sometimes we need help. Sometimes we can give help. But we're all in this together." That night, Paul went home to Meadow and told her about meeting Maria and Sophia. They talked about how small acts of kindness can change everything, how everyone deserves dignity and respect, and how the strongest people are often those who are struggling the most. "Dad," Meadow said as they finished talking, "I'm proud of you." "I'm proud of you too, sweetheart, but promise me something." "What?" "Promise me you'll always remember that everyone has a story. Everyone is fighting a battle we might not understand. And everyone deserves kindness." Meadow hugged him tight. "I promise, Dad." Years later, when people would ask Meadow about her father's legacy, she would tell them about many things: his movies, his charity work, his love for family. But she would always include the story of Maria and Sophia because it captured something essential about who Paul Walker really was. He was a man who understood that true strength isn't about what you can do for yourself. It's about what you choose to do for others when no one is watching. He knew that real success isn't measured by fame or fortune, but by the number of lives you touch with kindness. And in the end, that's the lesson that matters most. In a world where we can choose to be anything, the greatest choice we can make is to be kind.